Hi basketball fans, welcome back to this channel. If you thought this was just another SEC showdown, think again. Last night, the South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball and the LSU Tigers women's basketball didn't just play a basketball game, they delivered a heavyweight fight that shook the entire women's college basketball world. This wasn't hype. This wasn't media exaggeration. This was elite on elite. You had championship intensity. You had sideline fire. You had clutch shots, lockdown defense, and two powerhouse programs refusing to blink. When Staley and Mulkey step into the same arena, you already know something big is about to happen, and this matchup absolutely delivered. So if you love high-level basketball breakdowns, rivalry drama, and inside analysis you won't get anywhere else, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe so you don't miss a single breakdown, and drop a comment right now. Who impressed you the most in this showdown? Because we're about to dive deep into a game that truly lived up to the hype. If there was ever a regular season game that felt bigger than the calendar, it was this one. From the moment the matchup between the South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball and the LSU Tigers women's basketball was announced, it circled itself. Not just on the SEC schedule. On the national schedule. On every analyst's board. On every fan's timeline. And when the two heavyweights finally met, the phrase echoed across broadcasts and social media alike, it lived up to the hype. The buildup alone felt like postseason energy. Days before tip-off, conversations weren't about if this would be competitive. They were about what it would reveal. Would South Carolina's depth suffocate LSU? Would LSU's physicality crack the Gamecocks' defensive shell? Could this be a Final Four preview hiding inside a conference matchup? The storylines were layered. At the center of it all stood Staley, composed but laser-focused, and across from her, fiery and defiant, Mulkey. Two championship coaches. Two programs built to contend every year. Two philosophies that collide in fascinating ways, discipline and depth versus swagger and shot-making. By the time warm-ups began, the arena buzz felt different. Not loud for the sake of noise. Loud with anticipation. Every rebound in pre-game drills drew cheers. Every made three and shoot-around got a roar. This wasn't just a game. It was a measuring stick. From the opening tip, the tension was visible. South Carolina immediately set the tone defensively, switching cleanly, cutting off driving lanes, forcing LSU into contested looks. LSU answered with aggression, attacking the rim, pushing pace, refusing to let the Gamecocks dictate every possession. The first quarter was a feeling-out process, not passive, but probing. Each side tested matchups. South Carolina looked to establish control in the paint. LSU countered by stretching the floor and trying to create driving gaps. Every possession mattered. Every loose ball turned into a scramble. What made the game compelling was the pace of adjustments. There were no long stretches of comfort. Whenever South Carolina built a small cushion, LSU responded with a run of its own. When LSU's crowd began to swell with confidence, South Carolina silenced it with disciplined execution. The physicality intensified in the second quarter. Screens were harder. Box-outs were tougher. Guards fought over every action like it was the final minute of March. It felt less like February basketball and more like something played under tournament lights. South Carolina's depth began to show. Fresh legs rotated in without a drop in defensive intensity. The Gamecocks' ability to sustain pressure forced LSU into rushed decisions at times. But LSU refused to fold. They crashed the boards relentlessly, fought for second-chance points, and leaned on their stars to stabilize the offense. Midway through the game, you could sense it, neither team would run away with this. It was too even. Too competitive. Too emotionally charged. Halftime didn't feel like a break, it felt like a pause before the storm. Analysts dissected defensive schemes. Fans debated officiating calls. Social media lit up with hot takes. But inside the locker rooms, it was about composure. When the third quarter began, the intensity escalated again. South Carolina tightened its rotations defensively, shrinking driving lanes and contesting perimeter shots with discipline. LSU responded by increasing ball movement, trying to pull defenders out of position and create mismatches. There was a stretch midway through the third where the game reached another level. Possessions were frantic but controlled. A steal turned into a fast break layup. A missed three turned into a putback. A blocked shot ignited a crowd eruption. Momentum swung like a pendulum. This was the moment the game truly lived up to the hype. Not because of highlight plays alone, but because of the resilience on display. No one blinked. South Carolina showed why they're known for poise. When LSU surged, the Gamecocks slowed the tempo just enough to regain control. Crisp passes. Smart shot selection. Defensive communication that never wavered. LSU, meanwhile, embodied belief. They attacked mismatches fearlessly. They fed off their home crowd's energy. They refused to let South Carolina turn the game into a grind without resistance. The fourth quarter felt cinematic. Every possession carried weight. Coaches shortened rotations. Timeouts were strategic chess moves. Body language mattered. Leadership mattered. There were moments when LSU looked ready to seize it, a big three, a transition bucket, a defensive stop that shook the arena. And just when it seemed the Tigers had momentum, South Carolina answered with calm execution. That back and forth is what elevated this game from good to unforgettable. What stood out most was how complete the battle felt. It wasn't sloppy chaos. It wasn't one team underperforming. It was two elite programs executing at a high level under pressure. For South Carolina, it reinforced their identity, suffocating defense, rotational depth, composure in crunch time. They didn't rely on one hero moment. They relied on system, trust, and experience. For LSU, it showcased toughness. Even in difficult stretches, they never appeared rattled. They believed they could win every possession. They embraced the spotlight instead of shrinking from it. As the final minutes ticked away, the tension in the arena was palpable. Every dribble echoed louder. Every whistle felt amplified. Players on both benches stood, urging teammates forward. And when it finally ended, regardless of which side of the scoreboard you favored, one truth stood tall: this matchup delivered. It delivered drama. It delivered physicality. It delivered elite coaching. It delivered star power. It delivered heart. In a sport that continues to rise in visibility and respect, games like this are milestones. They show what women's college basketball has become: fierce, strategic, emotionally gripping. This wasn't just another chapter in a rivalry. It was another statement that when South Carolina and LSU meet, you clear your schedule. Because it won't just be a game. It will be an event. And if this was any indication, the story between these two isn't finished. The SEC tournament looms. March looms. And if fate places them on the same bracket line again, no one will be surprised. They've built something bigger than a matchup. They've built anticipation. And once again, they lived up to it. And when it was all said and done, one thing became crystal clear: whenever the South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball and the LSU Tigers women's basketball collide, it's never just a game, it's a statement. This matchup had everything: intensity, adjustments, star moments, coaching chess moves between Dawn Staley and Kim Mulkey, and the kind of drama that reminds you why women's college basketball is soaring to another level. And if this was just the regular season? Imagine what happens if they meet again in the SEC tournament, or even deeper in March. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like the video, subscribe for more in-depth coverage, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Did this game change your outlook on the title race? We're just getting started. More big-time analysis, more rivalry energy, and more must-watch matchups. Until next time, stay locked in.